Hey guys, I am so excited to share with you my first design tutorial webinar featuring my design concept presentation. It is going to be good. Grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or some sparkling water and get ready. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who may not know me. My name is Ueno, and I run and own an interior design firm and product business in Miami, Florida. I also have a few other titles: wife, working mom, VOO girl, shout out to my church, sister, daughter, and friend. I'm originally from Chicago and have an extensive background in hotels, digital marketing, and design. And after 16 years in corporate America, where 8 of those I had my interior design side hustle, I finally took the leap of faith into this incredible world of entrepreneurship. With no formal design training, I have built a 6-figure business, which has led me to an insatiable passion to encourage and educate others to chase hard after their dreams. You can check out my website, ueno.com, for some awesome freebies, educational resources for interior designers, project reveals, and so much more. Thank you for being here. It means the world to me. Now, let's get started. Okay, the design concept presentation. I have 6 key areas that I'm going to focus on: defining the home, the color story, metals and materials, pattern play, bringing nature in, and broad inspiration. The design concept is what I describe as the foundation to the design of the project. I create this for clients to give them a big picture, high level of the design direction I'm recommending, and it's their opportunity to essentially get the feeling of yes or no. It's not the time to review each specific inspirational picture or item. It's the time for high-level mandatories or must-haves or do not wants. It's directional, not literal. But nonetheless, it's a critical step to ensuring the rest of the design process goes smoothly. I have found that having this step in my design process has yielded the best results in the end. From client experience to actual designs, this step truly has been the true north layer along the way. It's been so impactful for me. So, without further ado, let's get in. And this example that I'm going to walk you through today, it is a real-life client design concept presentation. This is the first slide. I do have a template that you can access at the end and some bonuses, so make sure you stick around. But here, as if you want the template, all of this is very easy to edit, to customize to your liking, remove things, edit things as you see fit. You do you, whatever it takes. Okay, so defining the home, step 1. You can see here, this is for the Ocean Drive Cabana Onana. So this is the home editorial. Defining the home and being able to articulate its character and traits in just a few sentences. Think of it like a mission statement for the project. A general rule of thumb I follow to ensure that I'm addressing the right things are to include the following. First, the style of the home. Will it be modern, traditional, transitional, mid-century modern, farmhouse, shabby chic? Whatever it is, make sure that's included here. That's really helpful out of the gate to define. I include a bit on materiality. So what direction are we going to take related to materials? A reference to illustrate. So give the client something a little bit more tangible. So in this example, you can see here, I say it will be executed through a 1970s and 1980s inspired lens. So we all get a little bit more of a feeling of what the design direction will be based on those decades. And then also try to include, if you can, a little bit about architectural direction. It should generally be understood by your client when they read these sentences. Here's a hint. Read it to your partner, your husband, your wife, your mom, and if they understand it, then you hit the nail on the head. Okay, next up, the color story. Oh, and as I mentioned, as we go through this, you may think it's logical to start somewhere else. That's great. As I said, you do you. As creatives, we all work so differently. And for me, color is one of the first places I start when visualizing a home. Hence why it's one of the first steps in the concept deck. When creating the color story, I reference my client questionnaire, the location of the property, and the type of space I'm designing. And lastly, I look at past and current color trends. Sometimes I will have layers of color and communicate one layer as the primary and the next as the secondary. As you can see here in this example, it's just a single layer, meaning we're going to have equal amounts of all of these colors. I communicate to the client where the color will be the hero based on my vision. It could be literal with paint, or it could be in textiles or materials. It could be in permanent pieces like kitchen cabinets or less permanent pieces like furniture. It's important to understand your client's perspective on color before creating the color story. So make sure to ask questions and send a questionnaire so you head in the right direction. And then here I offer examples of the colors in action so they get a sense of the direction I'd like to go with the colors. I pull inspiration from the obvious, Pinterest, some of my past projects. I look at Instagram to curate the inspiration. Wherever you find your inspiration, pull that in and illustrate it for the client. And you can see in these examples, it's almost a 50-50 balance of neutral paired with color, and that's exactly what I was after for this client. Again, the client shouldn't evaluate this inspiration literally, but they should be able to tell you any loves or hates right at a glance. Okay, next up, architectural direction. One of the most critical aspects to design, particularly for a gut rehab job, but all jobs, is to spend some time defining the architectural direction. For this project, which is located in Miami's historic Art Deco neighborhood, I really wanted to keep the integrity of that era. Not in an overstated way, but in a subtle way by use of soft edges and things like man-made material. Anytime I take on a new project, I try to research the history of the location. I try to study the neighborhood, the building and structure itself, and anything else that would help define the architectural strategy for the project. These details are what can really make the design go from good to great. Next up, metals and materials. This next section is one of my personal favorites because the sky is truly the limit with what you can do. Metals and materials, there's so many options. I do loads of research on everything from lighting and hardware to tiles and accessories. The cohesion and materiality can give a house life and a really unique personality, so paying attention to this and defining it early on is so important. I want my project to always have character, and the use of metals and materials are like the jewelry, the final touch that, if done well, can really make the statement. As you can see here, the color story is starting to unfold a bit in this mood board I created. You can start to see a little bit of the architectural details taking shape. And of course, you can test to make sure the combination that you have of metals and materials will work or it won't work. I love the flow created here, and it sets the tone for the overall design, don't you think? And it's a really good benchmark for you behind the scenes as you're creating this to say, these metals and materials work well together or they don't. So it's really also an educational exercise for yourself and the client. Next up, we have pattern play. And I know I keep saying that this is my favorite or that's my favorite, but I really think pattern is truly my favorite. If I had it my way, all of my projects would have really defined statement pieces using pattern. So it's important that I start selling this early on. People can be afraid of patterns, but as you can see here, if done well, you can mix and match all kinds of patterns to create a beautiful story. I love bringing patterns out through textiles, wallpaper, and tile. Oh, it fuels my soul. Give this girl some Ann Sachs tile and some Kelly Wearstler textiles in a project, and I am done. Put a fork in me. I'm so happy. I love that combination of brands. Okay, I digress a bit, but let's get back to the point. Take your client along the pattern journey and get them so pumped up and so fired up, because it matters a lot. It will really take the house from good to great. Bringing nature in. Okay, this is relatively a minor piece to the design, but I always want to elevate it in the concept. Does the client want real foliage in their home? If yes, how much risk are they willing to take? How much maintenance do they want to take on? If no, are they cool with faux? And more importantly, are you cool with faux? And as you can see here, I called out other natural elements like shown in this wood ladder. If a project doesn't have earth and Mother Nature brought in, is it even real design? No, it's not. All right. The last thing I do here as my bookend to the project is I end with a wrap up of the broad inspiration. I showcase a myriad of visual inspiration of real homes, real spaces to bookend the design concept, as I mentioned. This is sort of like an executive summary, but I intentionally leave it to the end as I have built each piece of the design up so naturally, showing finished spaces at the end makes more sense. We page through this together and I remind them, don't get caught up in the specifics, but let's validate if there are positive emotions associated to this design concept or not. To validate each design element we've just walked through by way of showing them examples and calling out things you want to sell them on, but also things you know and like as a designer, see if it works. And friends, that's it. I take copious notes as I'm taking them through the design, and in some cases, I nail it in round one. And in others, it takes a couple of rounds. But listen up. Go through as many rounds as necessary until your client feels good about it. That work up front will save you time and emotion along the way, and setting the foundation early on, well, that gives us a healthy starting point for the rest of the design process. And we know the design process can be months and months and months. So not having confusion on materials or colors or patterns or anything like that along the way, it is so helpful, and it will really make the project that much more enjoyable. I typically spend about 5 to 7 hours creating my first round, and I love every single minute of doing it. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. It's going through each detail and spending time reading and visualizing the project. The art that you're going to create for someone. Gosh, how amazing is that? How incredible that we get to do this for a living. Okay, friends, that is a wrap. You made it. We're about 14 minutes in and you have listened all the way. And again, I can't thank you enough. I hope this design tutorial is helpful for you. I hope it saves you a little time. And I really can't wait to see what you do with it. Again, make it your own. You do you. You could add layers to this. You could subtract layers to this. But this is a really good starting point for your design projects. And as I mentioned, there's a little bonus for all of you who made it through the whole way. You can use code webinar25 to receive 25% off all my digital products, including this design concept template, which we just walked through. So if you want this exact template, it's a PowerPoint template, you can get it for 25% off. I have other digital products like my Pinterest guide, my guide to launching and revealing a new project. There's all kinds of resources. So don't forget to check them out and use code webinar25. Again, can't thank you enough for your support. I hope this helps you. I hope you have the best rest of your day ever. Until next time, see you soon.